Welcome to the Better Road Podcast, where we pave the way to better living and discover the roads less traveled. My name is Stefan Fisher. I grew up in a town called Armonk, New York, to immigrant parents who immigrated from Ukraine, which is a big part of my background, and eventually went to school at University of Miami, where I met my lifelong friends, studied business technology and finance, and eventually graduated and went into my parents' trade of the wine business. Today, we produce wines out in Napa Valley, Sonoma Valley, and Monterey, really all around California, and distribute in multiple states around the US. It has been quite a fun experience. I'm really grateful to work in this industry, but things have changed a bit, and that's where I get to the first topic of this podcast, and that is my experience with ulcerative colitis. For those of you who don't know, ulcerative colitis is an autoimmune disease where your immune system attacks your healthy gut and pretty much creates a dysbiosis in your colon, making it hard to digest your food properly, leaving you with symptoms like bloody stool, which is quite gross, urgency, which means you have to go to the bathroom right away when you feel it, and results in accidents sometimes. I've had quite a few. And lastly, frequency. So sometimes you could use the bathroom more than 15 times a day. I have definitely been there. Other symptoms I've had are fatigue and just dealing with all the mental stuff that comes with this. But before I get into all that, I just want to say this is not a video for any sympathy. This is not a deadly disease. I don't expect my life expectancy to change. I've learned a lot through this disease, and I do acknowledge that there are people who go through much worse. You know, cancer, obviously, deadly diseases, and, lost limbs. These are all things that, I really have noticed more so, and I'm grateful that I don't have the worst case of this. For anyone who's watching this with ulcerative colitis, I hope you find some comfort in my story. And I think it's important to share and be a community because it is still a really tough thing to deal with and has affected my life tremendously. So going into just how I got this disease, my symptoms at first were not that bad. I was diagnosed last year, May of 2023. I was feeling some constipation. I was seeing a little bit of blood. And at first I was like, oh, maybe it's just a hemorrhoid. But then the urgency started coming and I knew something wasn't right. I went to my doctor, and based on my family history, we went for a colonoscopy right away. This is common in genetics. So if your parents have it, it's more likely that you do. After my first colonoscopy, they noticed a mild case of proctitis. So it was just inflammation in my lower part of my colon, my rectum. And it was a pretty easy fix at first. All I had to do was take some mesalamine pills and some suppositories, which are like these little things you kind of put in your butt, and it's like Neosporin, and it helps. So I did that for 2 weeks and I got much better. And for 2 months, I went about my life as normal, eating, drinking, whatever I like. And eventually it came back, and it came back much worse. August, September, October were really tough months for me. All the symptoms I mentioned, I was facing those. I was going to the bathroom around 10 times a day, uncontrollably, having accidents outside in public places. And I really didn't have much of a social life because I had to stay at home. I thought it was time to see another doctor for a second opinion, and he prescribed me with prednisone. For 3 weeks, the prednisone did not change anything, so we went for another colonoscopy, and this time I was diagnosed with moderate ulcerative colitis. My entire colon was inflamed. From here, I was taking enemas, I stopped drinking, and I tried to make some diet changes. I did that for 3 months, and I started feeling a little bit better. Let me explain what enemas are real quick if you don't know. I'm glad you don't know. They are pretty much like this tube you have to put in your butt, you squeeze some liquid inside, and then as an ulcerative colitis patient, you're supposed to retain that liquid in your stomach for 30 minutes in the same position. So I was pretty much doing it every night, or I would do it in the mornings. It was a shitty experience, no pun intended. So after getting better from the enemas and changing up my lifestyle, I decided it was time to go back to normal and drink wine, which is something I love to do. I was eating as I normally would, which is not the best way to eat. And my symptoms started getting really bad again in January. I was going on dates, I was having a good time, but these dates started being me having to go to the bathroom all the time. It started becoming impractical. Just trying to have a social life was not possible because my symptoms were pretty bad. So I went on enemas again. It didn't work. I tried different things and I was doing anything I could to stay off of biologics. Biologics are pretty much autoimmune suppressants. They suppress your immune system. They help with your symptoms, but they have a lot of side effects. And I've always been really afraid of injecting myself or infusing myself. So I was trying to stay away from them no matter how hard my doctors pushed them on me. My second doctor eventually disappeared out of nowhere. I was left with a third doctor now, and he did not seem to have much time for me and was just trying to put me on Humira, one of the biologics, and I just didn't feel right. So I left him and I tried to figure it out myself. I tried to go with the diet route. This is a good time to give a shout out to some of the people I follow on YouTube. Kenny Hanas from Team Hanas. If you are dealing with this disease, you should definitely watch his videos. He does a great job of breaking down why certain diets work. Second, I want to give a shout out to Mike Merrill, who goes by the Heal Your Gut guy. He speaks a lot about how German knew science and how mental issues might be and probably are a major cause of this disease, and how if you track those down and you find your traumas, you might be able to heal yourself. I think it's a mix of both diet and mental health. Last shout out I want to give is to Brittany Rogers. You could find her on Instagram, and I'm so excited to be working with her right now. She is a registered dietitian who specializes in IBD and is so smart. I'm just amazed by everything she knows and everything we've spoke about so far. If you're dealing with this disease, it might be a good idea to reach out to her and get in touch with her company. I'll leave everybody's ats on this video. Thank you guys all for being a huge source of information and inspiration for me. Okay, so now I want to get in around March time. This is when I really got hit bad. I took a trip to Europe and there was a wedding in France, which was a beautiful wedding with my dearest friends. And at this wedding, this crazy virus was going around. It happened to be a stomach virus called the neurovirus. This virus mixed with ulcerative colitis is a horrible combo. In fact, there's only one study, but in that study, 6 of 8 people had to be hospitalized. So the mix of neurovirus and ulcerative colitis just destroyed me. The whole month of April, I was miserable. I was having fevers at random times. I could rarely leave my bed. I was going to the bathroom north of 15 times a day. Every bowel movement was painful. Every bowel movement was bloody. And I'm talking about like filling up the toilet with blood. Maybe I'll put a visual here. It is quite disturbing. I was going to weddings. I went to an old friend's wedding. I was miserable the whole time, but I was really pushing through so I could see some old friends and try and get my mind off this. Meanwhile, using the bathroom at the wedding, not able to eat the food. At this time, I was so bad. All I was eating was egg whites, bone broth, and turkey. I literally had a bag of turkey on the wedding, the first night of the whole wedding weekend, like the welcome night. I had a bag of turkey with me because I didn't know if I could eat the food. Luckily, there was salmon the night of the wedding, and it was pretty good. So that was good enough for me. But it was nice seeing all my friends. It was just really tough seeing them all partying, having a good time, and not feeling well myself. Next, I had another wedding, a college friend, and it was kind of the same story. Really nice to be out there. Tried my best to have a great time, but deep down, I was struggling. I wasn't drinking, and I knew the food at the wedding was not it for me. This was a really tough time in my life. It put a lot of perspective in my eyes, in my body, in my brain, and my whole body was not responding well. And I realized I really like this quote. The healthy man has 1,000 wishes. The unhealthy man only has one. The only thing I wanted was to be healthy. I couldn't work. I couldn't drink wine. The only thing that mattered to me was being healthy. It gave me a lot of perspective. I was lucky to eventually fend off this neurovirus. And I found a new doctor who I trust and is not trying to put me on biologics right away. Although I am not against biologics, and if it helps you feel better and improves your lifestyle, I highly suggest going for it. I'm still considering Entyvio if I don't get better. However, I have gotten a lot better. Over the past few weeks, in May, a year now since I've been diagnosed, I have been having a bit more formed stool, less blood. I still do see blood occasionally, but I've been feeling better. I haven't drank in months. I met a new dietitian who I had mentioned, Brittany Rogers, and she has been a great start. I'm really excited to keep up with this diet and keep my lifestyle changes afloat. This has taught me a lot of lessons and has taught me to never give up. There are other big time people who struggle with IBD, one of them being Mr. Beast. And just knowing that you can reach that type of level with success, going through something like this makes me believe that it's possible. With that all said, I had to let that out. This is the last time, hopefully, that I speak about this topic. Unless people want to know more, I'm always happy to share. But I feel like I'm on to better things now. I feel like I learned a lot. My lifestyle has changed. I feel healthier. And once I get past this, I know I will, whether it's through Entyvio or sticking through this diet, I will have ended up on the other side a better man. And I found a better road, and the opportunities that come with this and the experience are endless. I'm excited to bring other guests on here for them to speak about their stories, share their experiences and their trades and talents. And we have some really cool people who are going to be on here. So please stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching this first episode. Please subscribe and come along for the ride. We are on a better road.